Okay, here we want to look at some translations on trigonometric graphs. So first we want to do y is equal to 2 sine x minus pi over 2 plus 1. So the first thing I'll do right here, sometimes people can do it without it. The first thing I want to do is notice the changes in the graph. My phase shift is going to be pi over 2. Remember, the phase shift is in the parentheses, and on the outside of the parentheses I'm going to have a vertical translation moving the graph up. In addition, my amplitude is 2 because we can see the coefficient of the sine. So the first thing I want to do, and I want to show each graph, I want to graph 2 sine x. Okay, and I'm going to draw this very lightly. Okay, so I have 2 sine x. Okay, the next thing I want to do, I want to move this graph over pi over 2 units. I graph this in terms of the quadrantal angle, so I'm going to do this one in blue. So I'm going to start here and move every point over pi over 2 units. And last, the graph that I'm looking to graph, I want to use the plus 1. So I want to take every point and move it up 1 unit. So this is the graph that we're looking for. All right, so remember, the first thing we want to do, we want to make sure that we recognize the amplitude. Instead of having a height and a depth of 1, we're going to have a height and a depth of 2. So we can look here. The next thing we do, we move it over pi over 2 units. That's the graph in blue. And the third thing we do, we shift it up 1. Okay, and that's just showing every step. Okay, next we want to look at the y is equal to negative cosecant x graph. Now, the first thing we need to notice here is that the cosecant graph is a reciprocal graph of the sine graph. That's the first thing we want to notice. The second thing we need to notice is this negative sign. So instead of the traditional sine graph that starts at 0 and moves up, this will start at 0 and move down. So I'm going to draw the negative sine x graph. A sketch of it. Now, it's the reciprocal. Now, it's two things that we could do. We can draw the vertical asymptotes. The vertical asymptotes are the points where our graph intercepts the axis. Now, you don't necessarily have to draw the asymptotes, but it is helpful just to get a grasp of what we're looking at. And now, we just graph it the other way and make sure that we stay inside those asymptotes, because that's what guides us.